Hello, everyone. This is Patrick, and welcome to another edition of Heavy Therapy. It's been an exciting year for extreme music so far for me personally. Strong year. I would say I don't think late May and June had that many releases that I found amazing, but there were some very strong releases earlier in the year, and of course, one of my favorites of the year did come out very recently in June. So, yeah, I want to do my top 10 albums of the year so far. It's July. We've had 6 months of releases. Let's get started. Up first is Verus with the Apophatic Wilderness. This is a band from New Zealand. This is their third LP. This album came out on Norma Evangelium Diaboli Records. You get 4 tracks, 41 and a half minutes of music, so they are long songs. This features Jamie St. Marat from Ulcerate on drums, and that I think was originally what piqued my interest when I first heard this band a couple of years ago. This is black metal. Some might consider it post-black metal. They are sort of linear songs that build up and develop slowly over a song's length. The drumming really stands out. I like the atmosphere that is created the entire time. If you like bands like Ulcerate, Thanafaxith, sort of heady, moody, atmospheric post-black metal, then you might like this album from Verus. So number 10 is Verus with the Apophatic Wilderness. Number 9 is another black metal or black metal adjacent project. This is black metal proper. I am talking about Homrif with their fourth LP. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it, but I'm going to put it up here right now. 6 tracks, 50 and a half minutes of music. This is out on Territure Possessions label. You have Vile, who does all the instruments, and then you have KR, who does vocals. Homrif is a band that I've always thought was sort of mid-tier, middling, put out like 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10s. This is the first Homrif album that I really enjoy in its entirety. Nothing fancy, definitely nothing post or sort of technical or avant-garde about this release. Pretty much straightforward Norwegian black metal. And so I think a album that you might, if you like the new Holder album from this year, I recommend checking out this Homrif release. Better production. Overall, it just hits harder for me. Holder is not on my list this year, but check out Homrif's album if you do like that style of black metal. 1994. I definitely hear Dark Throne in this a lot in terms of the tremolo picking style, in terms of the overall atmosphere and sort of the compositions. Homrif is my number 9 album of the year so far. Number 8, Full of Hell with Coagulated Bliss. This is their 6th full-length album, though this band puts out a copious amounts of music, whether it's EPs, compilation albums, splits. This band puts out a lot of music. This is one of my favorite Full of Hell albums to come out so far. It's everything that they've been doing over the basically, this is everything that they've been doing distilled and sort of well-honed in terms of really delivering, I think, what this band does the best in sort of focusing on the songs and not just the parts. They really bring in noise rock influences on this album more than before. I don't really know what genre I would consider this. Their last 2 or 3 albums were death grind. This is more converge, so think metallic hardcore, but it definitely still has their death grind, grindcore influences all over this. Great vocal performance from Dylan. This does feature on Gasping Dust. It actually features Ross from Immolation on vocals, and then the final track, Malformed Ligature, features Jacob Bannon from Converge. Awesome album. Can put it on front to back. Very short listen. I didn't actually write down how long this one was. Coagulated Bliss is 12 tracks, 25 minutes and 15 seconds of music. Great. That is a perfect amount of tracks and time duration for this style of music, in my opinion. That would be number 8. Number 7 is Necrot with Lifeless Birth. What can I say about Necrot? Necrot, just a band that sort of began in 2011, but they really started to take off 2016, 2017, when old school death metal was really, getting its time to shine in the limelight. Once again, this band is from Oakland, California. This is their 3rd full-length album. 7 tracks, and it is 40 minutes of music. This was released in April, and I gotta say, this is probably my favorite Necrot album. Overall, I just think they have really captured what they do live on this album better than before. Some of the standouts for me is going to be Drill the Skull. But yeah, the B-side, tracks 5, 6, and 7, Winds of Hell, Dead Memories, and The Curse, are just stunning 3 set of songs to end the album, to make up side B here. I Don't Tank Crimes, Necrot. Some people were struggling with this album, and I have no idea why. Memorable songs on this. If you like riffs, this is one of the riffiest albums of this year. Yeah, I love everything about Necrot and this album, Lifeless Birth. This is my number 7 album of the year so far, as we have reached the midpoint of 2024. Number 6, my first It Won't Be the Last release put out by 20 Buck Spin. This is Atre Belis with Homicide. And this is a technical, dissonant death metal band from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This album on paper would have some features that I don't necessarily enjoy, in terms of the guitar tone is really close to being gent-like, though it's not gent in my opinion, but very clean, modern sounding album, which is not my preference at this stage of my life, but this band just does it all so well. One of my favorite vocalists going out today in death metal is the vocalist from Atre Belis. Let me try to think of some favorite songs here. Yeah, the singles are really good. Salted and Stygia, track 3, Inward to Abraxas, track 4. I really like how the album ends, though. Side Below is just top notch. Very conceptual, thematic band. I just like the overall, it sounds futuristic. I like the story that they're trying to get across, the performances, the compositions, all right here. Atre Belis, Homicide, it's their sophomore full-length album, out on 20 Bucks Spin, and the album has 10 tracks, 40 minutes of music. And yeah, so the vocalist is named Jordan Berglund, and Jordan is one of my favorite death metal vocalists going today. Check out Atre Belis if you haven't heard them before. Number 5, also a band and a sound that I'm not drawn to on paper. Number 5, Job for a Cowboy, Moon Healer. I'm not a fan of this band's previous work, though their album before this definitely was a good preview for what they would do here. For Cowboy, a band from Arizona. They've been not around for a while. I think this was a follow-up that to the previous album that came out about 9 years ago. This is basically a pretty flawless album. Jazzy, technical, death metal. That definitely is death metal and not deathcore, not metalcore. This is a death metal release. If you like Revocation, this came out on Metal Blade Records, so they definitely had a budget for the production, for the presentation. Just love the album's momentum. Love the compositions and songwriting here. Love the performances. The vocals had to grow on me slightly, but overall, I just keep coming back to this album. I love it as a full album experience. For Cowboy. Ignore the name. Ignore preconceived notions. This is a fantastic death metal album. For Cowboy. Moon Healer. Let me give you a couple more details before I move on here. This album is 8 tracks, 39 minutes of music. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty good sweet spot for me. I like when there's 4 tracks or 5 tracks on side A, 4 or 5 tracks on side B. Cohesive listen. Favorite song maybe is Into the Crystalline Crypts. Is one of my favorites. I love how the album begins with Beyond the Chemical Doorway as well. Check out For Cowboy, Moon Healer. Okay. Up next, we have Civis with Maze Envy. Killer art here by Juanjo Castellano. Civis are from LA. This is their sophomore full-length release. Really great death doom. They have their own style. Love the incorporation of strings on this album. I love when they bring in the melody. The riffs are fantastic. The production is quite modern, crisp, and you can hear some digital clipping as well on this album. But yeah, I just love what Civis does here. Great listen. The side B is an amazing way to end this album. This is not my final $20 spin release that you will see on this list. 7 tracks, 42 minutes of music, and the final 2 tracks are the 2 longest tracks on this album. Maze Envy, the title track, is 9.5 minutes. Gary on the Plummet is almost 10 minutes. They know how to really write songs. Every time a section feels like you've heard it before, they like to add embellishments and just parts that are different than most bands who play this style of music. Civis, Maze Envy is my number 4 album of the year so far in 2024. Up next, this was my favorite album of the year for the longest time, and it basically is tied for my number 1 if I'm honest. But let's call it number 3. Spectra Voice, Sparagmos, out on Dark Descent. This is their second full-length album. Also just about 4 tracks, 40 minutes of music. Saw them perform this album live front to back a few months ago. It was amazing performance. Yeah, Death Doom, doesn't get much better than this in terms of just sort of trying to represent what both of those subgenres do well. Combined Death Doom, that's what you get here. Not the riffiest album, though the riffs are really strong on here, but just the overall song compositions, the overall mood and theme that they want you to take on this, which is a meditation about death. And very meditative and album for me to listen to. Love the performances. Every time I listen to it, I get more and more from it. Love the cover art there. It's not a drawing, it's a photo of a sort of a sculpture that was built. And features members of Blood Incantation. Every member in this band except for the drummer is in Blood Incantation, and just stellar professional output right here. Spectra Voice with Sparagmos is my number 3 album of the year so far. This is my favorite $20 spin release so far. Slime Lord with Chytridiomycosis Relinquished. This band is from the UK. You know, their previous output before this album didn't grab me as much or really at all. This album, oof. Another band that has a unique sound. It becomes more and more familiar as you listen to it more and more. But overall, psychedelic death doom album. Love this album. It's very hard to imagine writing this album, coming up with this album as far as themes and just how all the sounds come together. I hear some Gojira riffs in here. But overall, I don't hear too many bands that sound like this band either. Slime Lord with Chytridiomycosis Relinquished. Brad Moore artwork. 7 tracks. I think it's about 45 minutes in length, and just a killer release that, really recommend checking this out if you like death doom, death metal, $20 spin releases. Check this out. My favorite album of the year so far. Ulcerate with Cutting the Throat of God. Ulcerate are from New Zealand. And let's see, I believe this is either the 6th or 7th full-length album from this band. 7th. This is the 7th full-length album from Ulcerate. They began in 2002 with this moniker, but they've been playing music before that even. But Ulcerate, to me, they are the epitome of dissonant death metal. So many bands are trying to sound like Ulcerate, and they just can't do it quite as well as Ulcerate does it. 7 tracks, 58 minutes of music. I've heard a couple people have some criticisms about this album. I think this is a flawless album, 10 out of 10. It's everything this band has been trying to achieve finally crystallized and realized, in my opinion. Hard to rate this band's catalog. My favorite is The Destroyers of All. This might be my second favorite, but this might actually even really end up being my favorite. 10 out of 10 album. I don't know where they go after this. Some people might hear that as a criticism because, I don't think they can put out another album that just sounds like this again. I don't think they need to. This is their magnum opus. This is Ulcerate at its finest. Less dissonant than some of their other albums. More melodic. Crossing over into basically post-death metal. But this band can do no wrong in my eyes, and I think that this really is an album that just captures everything that this band does well. 7 of their best songs are on this album. All 7 of these songs are some of their best songs. Every song is better than the one before it, in my opinion. So yes, my favorite song is Cutting the Throat of God. Love the quieter ambient sections, but I love how they build back up into this heavy sounding sound as well. Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God is my favorite album of the year so far. Will be hard to beat. That's my list so far. Mostly death metal, couple of black metal releases towards the end, at the start of my list here. But hey, that's what you get. I mostly listen to death metal, but of course I love black metal, hardcore as well. But so far, death metal, basically 7 out of 10 releases are death metal, death doom. My list this year so far. There you have it. Thank you all, as always, for watching. I appreciate you when you comment, and I like to talk back and forth. So what albums here are in your top 10? What is your favorite album of the year so far? What should I be listening to that I haven't picked up? Give me some black metal recommendations from 2024. I need to sort of catch up on some more black metal releases. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all very soon, and remember to stay heavy. Bye.